Hey guys, Asher coming at you today, Watcher of Realms. Welcome to the video, guys. Send us some love, some positive vibes your way if you need it out there today. And man, you're gonna need it after watching this video, because we're gonna talk about the worst of the worst, the 10 legendary heroes that I most want to see buffs added to inside the game. Power creep is real. The Supreme Arbiters and all the other just amazing exclusives and lords and everything, just it seems to be very good that they're adding to the game. So I want to see them continue to buff old legendary heroes as well. That's the glass half empty. The glass half full is honestly every single one of the 10 heroes mentioned, maybe with the exception of like one or two. I think they're still, you know, usable in some areas. This game doesn't have a lot of like absolute trash legendaries, specifically faction trials, right? Like almost everybody on the list you could use in faction trials, probably everybody on the list, again, maybe with like one exception. So that's the good news, glass half full that way. Either way, I really want to see buffs. I wish they would buff more often. And without further ado, let's get into the list. I actually want to start with the one that probably doesn't belong on the list. So I want to start with the hero that probably does not, no, definitely does not deserve to be on this list. As I mentioned, one exception, but this dude, I just really want to see a buff to him, and it is Zealous. Why am I putting Zealous, a very capable damage dealer and debuffer, on this list? It's for one really basic reason, right? And I wanted to mention this because I really want to see a buff to Zealous. First of all, he's good, especially like in Gear Raid 1 against Swarm. He has a pretty dang cool, you can see the ultimate if you're not familiar with it. Massive range. It has a AoE damage. It has a ground area effect that also brings a vulnerability to magic damage. So for the cost of 25, very expensive on Zealous. And I don't like that, but he's still not a bad legendary at all. But the reason I'm putting him on the list is because I really, for that cost, and let me know if you guys are with me or if you're just like, dude, you're out of your mind. He doesn't need a buff at all. Because again, probably doesn't deserve to be like bottom 10, but I want to lead off with the most controversial pick, because with that cost, I want to see the Soul Corruption vulnerability to magic damage bumped up to 20%. You know, we can get it to 15, so 20 to 25. I feel like for that cost, he ought to be, because it correlates with his ultimate anyway, right? I want to see that a little bit higher, you know? I want to see it for that cost on a legendary. I want to see it, you know, closer to at least 15, skilled up to 20, you know, or 20 skilled up to 25, man. Like, I want to see it better. So I'm putting him there because it's always just bothered me. For that cost, it's, even though he's a good damage dealer, he's a good debuffer, he's a good hero, I wish they would give us a little bit more in the vulnerability to magic damage, you know? Are you guys with me on that one? Let me know. Let's get to the rest of the ones who probably do belong on the list. And let's just go ahead and start with Anai. Infernal, there was an event or a banner for her like a month or two ago. I got her actually after the fact, and I have to be honest with you guys, again, she's not the worst on the list. We're gonna get to the worst of the worst here soon. But I was just underwhelmed with her damage, you know? And I know there's two camps of players out there on Anai. You know, some people think she's great. Obviously, the people in denial. I'm joking. She's just not that great of a DPS. Even in Clan Boss, I've actually seen, or Guild Boss, I've actually seen some videos where Imani, the Epic Mage, Infernal Epic Mage, out damages her in the same exact gear, you know? So for me, you know, let's beef that damage up a little bit, right? So she's number 2 on my list. Let's cover an obvious one here. Let's go over to the old defenders. I'm sure you guys will not be shocked at a couple of these choices here, but yeah, Crash. I'm sure we can all agree on this one, right? Didn't they give him a buff by bringing his cost down like from 24 to 22 or 25 to 22? Either way, man, come on. First of all, this guy's got a very weird range where it only goes 2 tiles forward, but it goes like way long as well, like horizontally, I guess. So, you know, that's kind of weird, but that's okay if he did like some awesome damage. It feels like he should be all about just being a massive DPS, because he really has built in a ignore defense. His talent is ignores 15% of enemies' defense, which should be very powerful. But for the cost cost. Like, what a joke of a buff, right? Reduces cost by like 2 or something. Come on, man. I thought it was April Fool's early here. If they're gonna reduce the cost, bring it down to 14, baby, because that would justify this sort of a kit. Either that, or they can just buff up his damage as well. A lot of potential here in Crash, and I hope that they are going to give him another buff as well. So time will obviously tell there, but yeah, like super no-brainer. He's definitely not the marksman that you want to see coming out of a legendary summons. No way, no how. I actually have a couple defenders on the list here, and one of them's Azor. So he was my first fully awakened legendary. So like, I have the best version of Azor. And let me be honest with you guys, definitely not a useless legendary, right? I don't know, from the comments of these videos, 75% of you guys would love to, or say that he needs another buff or needs a buff. Like, I think they gave him a buff like 3 or 4 or 5 months ago. Needs another one. And then probably 25% of you guys are actually like, yeah, Azor is actually really solid. He's a lot different. You know, he's got stun. He's about control in his kit. He also has like an overheat state where he goes into fortifying sparks and he gives a damage increase. So he's a buffer as well by 10%. You know, you read his kit and it costs 18. He's Nightmare too. So he's kind of easy to build with your Wrath team, or if you're lucky enough to have a Toreador, a Baron. He kind of fits in with all those other really capable defenders and fighters. So, you know, you can get utility out of him, you know, and obviously in trial, in artifact material raid, anywhere you need a lot of tanks, you know. So he's got that, but I don't know, man. I mean, he doesn't have like that unkillable that you're really looking for from defenders. He doesn't deal that much damage to justify him being like, yeah, he's a damage dealing defender, Ash. Nah, he's got a stun, but it doesn't feel like a difference maker in his kit, you know, to me. There's never been one point ever, even though, again, it reads well. You're like, yeah, he's got stun, he's got control, it's awesome, man. I've never found myself being like, thank God I have Azor here. You know, I usually find myself saying, I wish I had Baron here instead, you know? So for me, falls short of being a legendary, exciting defender that you want to pull. Another perhaps controversial one is actually Aurum. I was very disappointed with Aurum, and you can see the reviews are not too bad in game compared to some of the legendaries that we're going to mention here. But man, I use him in Infernal faction trials, and he's solid-ish, you know. He's got counterattacking, he's got burning as well. He's got, you know, the Smith Spirit is kind of one of my favorite parts of his kit, and I don't know, as a second passive, I'm not sure if it's meant to be the highlight of his entire kit. He gains crit rate increase when he's deployed, but he grants allies crit damage increase by 20%. So to me, that's the best part of his kit. He's not super tanky. His cost is 25, so it's very prohibitive of, you know, being a main defender you're going to rely on, unless you're just early game progression or in more niche areas as in a faction trial. So for me, again, I was just really disappointed with Aurum. I was excited when I summoned him in the video. If you guys remember, I was like, I can't wait to build him, and then he kind of let me down. So you guys let me know how you feel about Aurum as well. Let's go to some God. They buffed her, but I don't think it's enough, man. Kriya wouldn't want to be ya. Okay, sorry guys, I've got dad jokes. What can I say here? I'm sorry, guilty as charged. She costs 21. She's got some, I would say, slightly below average AoE damage potential. That's about it. You know, she's got slow from the storm crows, and honestly, just like every legendary, if you awaken her, she's got anti-healing. So now that she's got anti-healing on A1, not that every legendary hero has anti-healing on their A1. I mean, like, she gets a lot better with awakening is what I meant to say there. You know, anti-healing is great. To me, though, even in Gear Raid 1, if you have her awakened 1, like, that's the only real utility out of that you can get from her, you know, in the mid to end game, in my opinion, you know, for that cost again. You guys let me know how you feel about her, but I've never been a fan. If we go to the reviews again here, you know, people seem to like her. Go to the ratings. Don't be tricked, this hero is trash. Congratulations, your legendary rare, trash, needs a buff. Okay, it seems like maybe the majority of you guys do agree with me on Kriya. Yeah, not a fan. I would love to see a buff. Honorable mention, I actually love Venoma, but there's a lot of lords in the game who like are insanely good lords, right? But you know, I feel like their actual kits maybe fall a little bit short. Venoma I love, so I'm not like trying to take shots at Venoma. I would just love to get maybe a little bit more a chance on the curse or something like that. Anyway, Venoma's great. She's not on the list. I would just want to, I still want a buff to her though, a little buff damage wise. Derza is probably my #1 most hated legendary in the game. Now listen, as a chaotic hero, he does have some teams where you can actually get some synergy on him. I've never done it, but in theory, he's killing your entire team. Deducts 50% of the current HP of all allies in range, then starts a ritual where, well, all allies in range get attack speed and deduct more of their current HP every 2 seconds. So he slowly kills your entire team. Wow, what a great hero. Obviously, he's meant to be kind of a motor of a chaotic team because the less HP they have, the more damage they do. So in theory, there's something there. However, they just really overdid it with how much damage he does to everybody and the alacrity that this scales up that everybody's dead right away. I remember I built him just to make kind of one of those contrarian videos. Like, yeah, he's not, you can get some utility out of him. And boy, was I wrong. I feel like he's really bad. Really bad, and I think that almost everybody agrees with this one. Again, there's a lot of promise in this kit. He has slow on the basic attack, maybe an AoE on the basic. There's like a lot of ways you could buff him, and again, he's got the vulnerability to physical and magic damage as well at 20%. Eat that, Zealous. But he's just far from viable. As a matter of fact, he was the one that I had in mind when I was thinking of a hero that I wouldn't even use in faction trials. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I will in the future, but right now, nah, he's not it. He's not it for me, at least. All right, let's go to the healers, guys. Let's start with Doomi. Oh man, Doomi. I actually do not have, I like to share when I don't have a hero, because I hate talking too definitively about heroes that I do not own personally. I don't have Doomi, and luckily I don't. Luckily I don't, because I don't want him. He's got the magic essence. He costs 18. He's a healer. He's got magic essence. What does magic essence do? It essentially, if the HP is higher than 50%, it dispels a debuff. Otherwise, it restores their HP, fraction of their HP based on their max HP and the caster's attack every 2 seconds. Listen, all you need to know about this dude is like, unfortunately, there's not a massive need for dispelling in this game, right? Don't get me wrong, there's some utility you can get out of it for sure, but for it to be like the only highlight of his kit, he's definitely one of those heroes I feel like that could get better in time even without a buff as more content is added to the game. So, you know, I don't want to totally dismiss him. He's got an interesting kit, but from everything that I've heard in literally every tier list that I've seen, he's one of the worst rated legendary heroes in the game. Let's see what the ratings say about him. I'm going to max mine out and give a true rating. Well, there you go. Rip to people that pulled this trash. How can you call him blup? No gear, no star levels. Okay, so just arguing with each other basically in the ratings. Yeah, I mean, again, sometimes when you get a healer, you just want like damage buffs and a lot of heals, shield, whatever, you know, and unfortunately he's kind of lacking that. I do love his lizard friend though, Fursy. He's not on the list. I just summoned him. I'm a big fan. So let's go back to mages, guys, and end strong with 2 mages. I'll be quick on these 2. You guys know the roller coaster ride I've had with Shamir. I heard he was an absolute go, and let me be real, Shamir has helped me tremendously in faction trials. I have to be real with you guys. He's been awesome with Drowning Water, really good control. Drowning Water essentially is going to reduce their movement speed, and if you have enough attack speed on him, you can really get great control. He's probably, out of all of the heroes that we mentioned in this video, I want to say he's probably the best in faction trials, or the most pivotal. I heard, and I'm not sure if this is true, but I heard he's almost essential to have him to clear Northerner faction trial. That being said, everywhere else I feel like he's massively outclassed. He's all about control, right? But in practicality, like Mari will give you much better control in like a gear raid 1 situation, or most other areas of the game. So he's outclassed by epics almost everywhere else, damage wise as well in a lot of areas. So really, you're looking at a faction trial expert. I would love to see a buff to him. I would love to see him have a little bit more viability because I think there's a lot of potential with him.
So who are you, for instance?
Cade, another hero that I actually do not have on this list. Cade seems pretty dang cool, right? He has vulnerability. He's a debuffer, vulnerability to magic damage, and he also has all heroes will prioritize attacking. So he's like basically marking an enemy on his Gale of Sacrifice, which is pretty cool. He also summons Spirit Beak upon the death or retreat of allies, and that gives attack speed of all allies in range plus 50. It lasts for 10 seconds. You know, I think that this guy is a very cool kit conceptually. He also has when this hero dies or retreats, deals 40% magic damage to one enemy in range 45 times. So that sounds pretty awesome. Problem is you're just not getting, for a mage here, you're just not getting much damage from him. It says burst damage, but again, from everybody, every review that I've seen on this dude, he's not really a DPS. So he's more of a buffer slash debuffer for your team. And I just feel like that what he brings to the table, it sounds good on paper. I don't know. Is it a game changer? I feel like there's a lot of potential in Cade. So he summons like Stormbeak that lasts for 16 seconds as well. Stormbeak can do some damage, but that's really the only highlight of his kit damage wise. I would love to see just a little bit more, I don't know, coherence between his abilities and see if that gives him more viability overall in the game. But you guys let me know on Cade. Again, I'm just kind of picking up what you guys have been putting down in the comments and on tier lists and on champion guides that I see out there on the internet on this guy. And I had to round out my list of 10. So overall, what do the reviews say on him? Yeah, they're pretty dang mediocre. Pretty dang mediocre. Player ratings, huge burst attack speed buff and definitely underrated, and his skills look stupid, but he's actually good. Don't hate him if he's not someone you wanted. Help me in 119. Who likes tacos and beer? Well, I will leave you guys with that question. Who likes tacos and beer? Let's give it a thumbs up. And you guys let me know who I left off the list, most importantly, that you would love to see get a buff out of legendary heroes in the game. Thanks so much for watching till the end. Appreciate you guys. And as always, take care, guys.